Minnesota Vikings fans, I don't know about you, but it feels like we are on the verge of finding our next hidden gems as training camp approaches. The organization is banking on undrafted free agents again, specifically wide receiver Dylan Bell, punter Brett Thorson, and cornerback Marcus Allen to bolster our thin depth chart. It is fascinating because these guys are already pushing for real roster spots before the pads even come on. There are two things to discuss here. Exactly what these players bring to the table and what their emergence means for our final 53-man roster. The more I look at the film, the harder it is to ignore the potential impact these guys could have on our season. If you are excited to see these rookies compete, please smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and drop your name and city in the comments below. Let's get into it. While our draft history has been a mixed bag recently, the Minnesota Vikings continue to excel at finding hidden gems through undrafted free agency, and this season offers a prime opportunity for fresh faces to make the 53-man roster. With 7 undrafted players making the cut last year, we are keeping a close watch on the TCO Performance Center as camp approaches. 3 names have emerged as serious contenders to secure spots, starting with wide receiver Dylan Bell. The former Georgia standout brings a physical 6'1", 220-pound frame to our receiving corps. Although his collegiate numbers were modest, his versatility as a runner, having averaged 7.3 yards per carry, makes him a unique prospect. The Athletics' Alec Lewis highlighted his potential during rookie minicamp, and after earning first-team reps in June, Bell is positioning himself to challenge for a role behind our established stars. And that changes everything for a team currently lacking consistent depth at the position. We are also monitoring punter Brett Thorson, who boasts an impressive 45.5-yard average from his time at Georgia and brings the technical precision of a Ray Guy Award winner. Finally, cornerback Marcus Allen provides size and grit at 6'2", potentially filling a void in our secondary rotation. As fans, there is a genuine sense of excitement seeing these under-the-radar players compete for their professional lives, bringing a blue-collar work ethic to our locker room that we have grown to love. Yet, as we look at these 3 distinct talents trying to carve out a legacy in Minnesota, we are left wondering if the front office can actually trust this thin depth chart when the pressure of the regular season arrives, or if these camp darlings will vanish once the pads start popping. The most surprising revelation is that the Vikings are actively using the International Player Pathway program to secure punter Brett Thorson without burning a valuable spot on the 90-man roster. This strategic move highlights how GM Nolan Teasley and Kevin O'Connell are aggressively exploiting every loophole to rebuild depth after a series of underwhelming draft cycles. What nobody is talking about is how this specific roster maneuver echoes the team's historical reliance on creative personnel solutions, a necessity born from the lack of quality depth that has plagued our secondary and special teams units lately. Brett Thorson arrives with a proven pedigree, winning the Ray Guy Award after averaging 45.5 yards per punt, with an impressive 23 punts downed inside the 20-yard line last season. Behind closed doors, the coaching staff is clearly prioritizing versatility and cost-effective talent, betting that raw potential like Dylan Bell's 6'1", 220-pound frame can eventually outshine underperforming draft picks. While Bell's transition from a Georgia runner to a reliable route runner remains a significant hurdle, the front office is banking on his ability to replicate his college production of 1,269 receiving yards. Meanwhile, the decision to look at cornerbacks like Marcus Allen, who stands 6'2", signals a shift toward the specific physical measurables required by the defensive scheme. Although Allen faces an uphill battle against competition like 5th-round rookie Charles Demings, his ability to contribute immediately on special teams is precisely what the staff needs to round out the back end of the roster. It is a calculated gamble, but for a team that successfully integrated 7 undrafted free agents into the starting lineup last season, this approach is not just a hope. It is a proven blueprint for survival in an increasingly competitive league where roster management often determines the difference between missing and making the postseason. Moving beyond the headlines to the bigger picture, we must consider what this influx of undrafted talent actually signifies for our path forward this season. What makes this even bigger is that our reliance on these relative unknowns highlights a critical transition phase for this organization as we aggressively search for reliable depth behind our established starters. The stakes are clear because failing to cultivate these contributors forces our coaching staff to lean too heavily on a top-heavy roster, leaving us vulnerable if injuries arise at key spots like receiver or cornerback. When we look at the immediate impact, successful development of players like Dillon Bell or Marcus Allen would stabilize a depth chart currently lacking in proven consistency. This improvement is vital for our upcoming slate of games, particularly when we face high-octane offenses that will relentlessly test our secondary coverage and our overall defensive stamina throughout the fourth quarter. Integrating these young players into the rotation is not just about filling practice squads, but about ensuring we have reliable bodies ready to contribute during the grueling middle stretch of the schedule. If these prospects flourish under the current coaching staff, it fundamentally shifts our standing within the division. While the Packers and the Bears are busy shoring up their own personnel, our ability to mine talent from the undrafted pool could provide the hidden advantage that pushes us into the postseason conversation. We are essentially betting on our internal scouting process to uncover the difference makers that other teams simply overlooked. Establishing this kind of reliable pipeline means we are no longer just hoping for health, but actively building a competitive environment where every single roster spot is earned through grit and performance. The Vikings have consistently struggled to find depth through the draft lately, making our reliance on undrafted free agents a genuine necessity for the upcoming season. The primary upside here is the sheer opportunity available for players like Dillon Bell, Brett Thorson, and Marcus Allen to contribute immediately on a roster lacking established reserves. Bell brings an exciting 6'1", 220-pound frame with verified production as a runner, while Thorson offers a proven leg that earned the Ray Guy Award. Now here's the thing about this strategy. Relying on unproven talent always carries significant risk. While these athletes showed promise at the collegiate level, the transition to the professional game remains a massive hurdle. Route running remains a primary concern for Bell, and Allen's 8 penalties last season show he is still raw. Experts like Alec Lewis have identified Bell as a sleeper, while Pat McAfee has already labeled Thorson a certified NFL guy. However, we must remain cautious regarding the hype surrounding these rookies. While it is easy to get excited about potential, we have seen many undrafted players fail to translate their college skills to the speed of the NFL. My honest take here is that while the front office has done a commendable job scouting these particular gems, the expectation that all three will secure permanent spots is likely overblown. It is far more probable that only 1 or 2 will actually survive final roster cuts once training camp intensity ramps up at TCO Performance Center. We need to see them prove their worth against actual starters before crowning them as the missing pieces of our depth chart. Regardless of the outcome, adding competitive depth is exactly what this team needs to improve. And having a diverse group of hungry players vying for these positions creates a better overall environment for our established veterans. When you weigh the development of these undrafted players against the current roster needs, the clear path forward for the Minnesota Vikings becomes a commitment to sustainable, internal growth through smart evaluation. This is where it gets real, as the franchise is clearly prioritizing high-ceiling prospects like Dillon Bell, Brett Thorson, and Marcus Allen to patch holes that recent draft classes could not fill. For us as Vikings fans, we should feel optimistic but grounded because finding impact contributors without burning high draft capital is the hallmark of a front office that understands how to build depth for the long haul. If Kevin O'Connell and Nolan Teasley can consistently turn these relative unknowns into reliable role players, it secures our foundation for the next several seasons while allowing the team to spend resources elsewhere. We need to be patient, as these young men are fighting for their professional lives, yet their presence proves that the coaching staff remains hungry for talent regardless of its origin. This team is at its best when it identifies overlooked talent that fits our specific system, and the progress seen from Bell, Thorson, and Allen at TCO Performance Center is a very encouraging sign. We are seeing a concerted effort to cultivate a culture where performance at camp dictates the depth chart rather than draft status alone, which is exactly how a championship-caliber roster is constructed. Between the raw potential of Bell at receiver and the specialized skill set of Thorson at punter, which of these 2 undrafted players are you more confident will secure a permanent spot on the final 53-man roster? If you enjoyed the video, do not forget to like it and subscribe to the channel. SKOL. I'll see you in the next one.